Hi, I'm Curtis Cooke, the Executive Chef of Cal-a-Vie Health Spa. Welcome to my kitchen. Today's recipe, it's going to be herb chicken, summer squash noodles, some basil beans, and an heirloom tomato Provençal sauce. So let's get cooking. I think as we think about this sauce, our mise en place is in its place. We really need to think of what's going to take the longest. So we're going to go right to this tomato sauce because it needs to simmer for 30 to 45 minutes. So I'm going to start with a medium preheated pan, a little bit of olive oil, making sure that the oil does not smoke. And we're going to start by sweating some shallots and garlic. And to sweat shallots and garlic, that's simply heating up the pan, adding the fat to it, and then just having them kind of start to bubble under that oil, and you'll know it's done when the shallots are translucent in color. It takes a good 3 to 4 minutes. Once our shallots are done sweating, we're going to deglaze with a little bit of white wine. What kind of white wine? It's the wine that you would drink, but I'm not sure I'd be using the most expensive wine in the world. So any Chateau Margaux, Chateau Neuf de Pape, anything like that, save that for drinking. Go for your mid-grade, a little bit lower grade that you would use in a spritzer or something like that to deglaze with. We're really just wanting to cook the alcohol out, leaving the essence of the wine. Starting to smell pretty fantastic right now. Once we've deglazed, let's add those tomatoes. And today I'm using heirloom tomatoes. This is summer. And we're using yellow, red, a deeper red, even throwing in some greens, any colors you can get your hands on. The reason we're using all of these colors is some tomatoes are tart, some are sweet, some are right there in the middle. We want all of those flavors kind of swirling around into this sauce to produce this really fantastic, is it sweet, is it sour, is it a little bitter? Yes, it is all of the above. So we're gonna let this simmer for a good 30 to 45 minutes. The longer we simmer it, the sweeter it becomes. Just stirring ever so often. The heat's gonna help take all of those seeds and the juice inside of the tomato, break it down. No stock needed to this, just let it go. Keep it slow and low, checking on it ever so often. Let's move into our chicken breast. We've got an herbed chicken breast. On this, it's about a 6-ounce boneless, skinless. We've topped it with, or marinated it with some parsley, chives, and tarragon. So we need to take that and just kind of season lightly with some salt. Heating our pan again on kind of that medium heat. Adding a little bit of fat. Choosing olive oil here. And let's just make sure we kind of swirl that around, get it nice and coated. And then we take that chicken, salt side down, and that's what we want to hear. We want to hear that sizzle. That sizzle means we're cooking right now. And don't forget the backside of this chicken. It needs a little bit of love too, so we're going to add some seasoning to that. Now the chicken from start to finish is around 10 minutes. So what we're really doing here is we're setting the color on that presentation side. It's going to be this nice golden brown. The fat's going to kind of crisp it up a little bit. But we're going to watch this chicken. It's going to go from this opaque color, kind of this pinkish opaque, to white as it cooks up its sides. And then we'll flip it over, pop it into a 375-degree oven to finish it off. Next up, we've got our basil beans. We're using Calypso beans. Here at Cal-a-Vie, I take privilege in some of our purveyors having some of the oddest and unique grains, beans, nuts, fruits, vegetables, and I'm like, it's my job to play with them. So we're gonna do it. So Calypso, it could also be called a cow bean. It's beautiful in its raw form. It's basically has the markings of a cow, a dairy cow, white and black. And when you cook it up, you can still kind of see that in there. Any bean will do. Just make sure if you're using a canned bean, nice organic canned bean, rinse off all of the liquid it comes in. We've made a basil pesto. It's in the recipe is in the link of the description. And to make these basil beans, we're going to take a little bit of that pesto, dairy-free pesto I might add, just leaving out the Parmesan. We're going to add that to our beans and just kind of start to mix it in. I've always found that beans by themselves, they're okay. I get why we eat them, but adding a nice pesto to it, they're great. They feel good. I like eating them that way. So we'll put that to the side. Our sauce is simmering nicely now. Let's look at that chicken. We're going to take that chicken, just flip it over. It's toasting. Those herbs are getting toasted. You can see it went from opaque to white. Now let's take this and just add it to our 375-degree oven for roughly 9 minutes. Okay, I'm back. Chicken's in the oven. Now, that's going to sit for a good probably 7 to 9 minutes. We're going to need to finish off the sauce, which takes 30 minutes or so. So I have already had that prepared. And to finish the sauce, we're going to add some basil, some oregano, and parsley, all nicely chopped. We don't want to add these fresh herbs too early in the making of this sauce, simply because I want the greenness and I want the word fresh to come out. Dried herbs can be done in a pinch, so you would add those early to kind of let them simmer and bloom, but there's a definite different flavor in fresh and dried, but there's not a wrong answer to that. Fresh or dried, whatever you like. I just like, if we're in summer, this is in season, we've got a garden going, we got some herbs in it, let's just mix them in and keep them nice and green. So for the summer squash noodles, very simple. We've got the how-to video on how to spiralize these and take them down to this noodle form. Now we're going to spend the next whopping 90 seconds cooking them. So again, we start with a little bit of that olive oil. Get it swirled around. You take those noodles, drop them right in. What needs to happen is a pinch of salt, and we need to just stand back and let this do its job, the pan do its job. And what we need to do is, if we leave them like this, only the ones on the bottom of the pan are going to be cooking. So all we need to do here is just start to kind of agitate them. If one gets out, put it back in. But if another gets out, you put it back in. You feel like it's starting to brown, just take a little splash of water. Steam can't hurt. Not much. I want it to evaporate. Nice and steamy. And I don't want to cook the noodles to complete mush. I want them to still retain some of that bite. They're done. You can even get fancy and do the chefy thing by tossing them around, or just take some tongs. Those are reserved. Next up, let's plate. Chicken's going to be done. We're going to pull it out of the oven. We're going to let it rest for a couple of minutes to let those juices reabsorb, and then we're going to plate this beautiful dish. Okay, chicken's out of the oven. Summer squash noodles are done. Provençal complete. We have our basil beans. We're going to it's important to let your chicken rest. Once it comes out of the oven, it's still sizzling. You can hear it. If I cut into it immediately, the juices kind of run on me. So I want to let that protein kind of reabsorb those juices. So while we're doing that, let's get plating. And the first thing I want to do, I want to put that lovely tomato sauce in a nice pool. All the different colors kind of meld together, that flavor, that sweet, and that sour come together. Wipe up any plates. It may get messy. And then on top of that, let's put our zucchini noodles. It might be good to just kind of dab it on a towel, any moisture. These are very high moisture vegetables. Put those right in the middle. Let's get our chicken resting on our cutting board. And then last but not least, here, use what you have. We'll put a few beans right on side there. We'll just kind of hug them around this side. Nice and herbaceous, full of fiber and protein. Shoot. And I need my knife. That's what I really need. Okay. And so when I'm slicing, what I'm going to look at is it goes from the thick end to the thin end. And I'm just going to take my knife and just put it right through. It's a little warm, so you might want to use a towel just to kind of get your hands off of there. Hot chicken. Just kind of cut it down. Kind of give it some shape, fan it out just a little bit. Use the bottom of the knife. And then right on top. And there we have it. Some herb roasted chicken, some basil beans, summer squash zoodles, and heirloom tomato Provençal. For this recipe and many more can be found in our new cookbook, Beautiful Living at Cal-a-Vie Health Spa. Click that subscribe button, hit the like. We'll see you next time.